Part 23. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 222. Then, Lei Lei followed suit and sat down next to Len Ning. Len Ning's heart was suddenly high. Big brother, he is so close to me. Xiaoning, don't be afraid of me, Lei Lei said suddenly. Len Ning was stunned. I'm not afraid, he replied directly without looking at Lei Lei. Lei Lei chuckled twice. Then why don't you dare to look at me, then he said with a smile. Why don't you dare? Len Ning was suddenly excited and turned to look at Lei Lei. Seeing Lei Ting's face very close to hers, Len Ning blushed again. Brother bullied me, then a fist lightly knocked on Thunder's shoulder. Lei Lei was stunned. Bully. Okay, it's my fault, he immediately apologized. His little princess says everything is right. Len Ning was stunned. What's wrong with you? Then he asked with a smile. Lei Lei's expression froze. Look, you don't even know what's wrong and you still admit your mistake. You're so perfunctory. Len Ning suddenly pretended to be angry again. Even she herself didn't realize that she looked like a little girl in love at the moment. Thunder. A smirk appeared on Len Ning's lips, but it quickly disappeared and was hidden by her. Ahem. Lei Lei caught Len Ning's expression keenly and almost choked. Are you okay? Len Ning quickly expressed concern. It's okay. Lei Lei quickly waved his hand to Len Ning to stop her from approaching. Seeing Lei Lei raise his head again, Len Ning felt relieved. Brother, I'm sorry. Len Ning apologized to Lei Lei embarrassedly. Sorry for what? Lei Lei was a little confused. I'm sorry for teasing you just now. Len Ning admitted his mistake. Teasing? There was a smile on Lei Lei's face again. You're still smiling, Len Ning pouted. Okay, don't laugh, Lei Lei said immediately. Looking at such thunder, Len Ning suddenly felt a little dazed in his heart. With such an excellent elder brother who loves him so much, how could he have been kidnapped by Huo Xiao in his previous life? Brother, what kind of girl do you like? Suddenly, Len Ning asked Lei Ting. Lei Lei was stunned. I felt a little nervous for a moment. Why are you asking? He replied unnaturally. Just curious, Len Ning said. She actually wanted to ask her eldest brother if he liked hers. But she didn't dare to ask directly for fear of scaring him. Lei Lei looked straight at Len Ning. Len Ning couldn't help but blush and wanted to hide. I don't know either, then he said in a low voice. How could he not know that what he likes and loves is right in front of him? But he didn't dare say it for fear of scaring her. Len Ning was stunned. Then his eyes slowly started to become weird. Until Lei Lei wondered if there was something wrong with him, he couldn't help but want to lower his head and check himself. Brother, don't you think you like boys? Len Ning asked Lei Lei in embarrassment. The eldest brother has been single for so many years, but he has never had any scandals with any woman. Apart from sister Angshu, there was no one of the opposite sex beside him. In addition, he just told himself that he didn't know what kind of girl he liked. The more I think about this, the more wrong it becomes. Thunder. Brother, you are the only one in the Lei family. Len Ning felt nervous for a moment, thinking that he had guessed what Lei Ting was thinking. You can't think about it. Len Ning stammered. I don't like boys, Lei Lei said solemnly. I felt both angry and a little funny. Then Len Ning felt relieved. But within a moment, the heart that had been put down was picked up again. Is the eldest brother just trying to comfort himself? Completed update today. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 223. I really don't like boys, Lei Lei said to Len Ning seriously. Okay, Len Ning calmed down the doubts on his face. This matter is not simple. If the eldest brother really doesn't like boys, that's a good thing. But if you like it? No, even if she likes him, she has to get him back. Not only for herself, but also for the Lei family. Len Ning instantly made up his mind to get close to Lei Ting more often in the future. Let him know that women are better than men. Thinking of this, Len Ning immediately grabbed Lei Ting's arm. Lei was a little surprised. I'm tired, brother, let me lean on your shoulder for a while then. Regardless of Lei Ting's reaction, Len Ning leaned on him directly. Lei's body was stiff and he didn't dare to move. Xiao Ning is very strange today. In this way, the two of them sat in the rocking chair, enjoying the quiet beauty under the rocking of the rocking chair. I don't know how long it took, but Zhou Tao came to call Len Ning and Lei to have dinner. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Len Ning and Lei leaning together under the dim street light. Zhou Tao was stunned at first, and then panic immediately surged in his heart. How is this going? Boss and Mr. Lei? No, how is this possible? Isn't Mr. Lei the boss's eldest brother? Well, he knew it wasn't biological. But. Zhou Tao's heart was filled with mixed emotions. He hasn't confessed to his boss yet, so is there no chance? Yuan Xing saw Zhou Tao standing outside for a few minutes without calling Len Ning and Lei Ting, so he went out to see the situation. Then, he also saw Len Ning and Lei leaning together. Understanding his friend's thoughts, Yuan Xing stepped forward and patted Zhou Tao on the shoulder. Unprepared, Zhou Tao's body trembled. Go in. I'll call them. He didn't expect that the boss and Mr. Lei would have that kind of relationship. It seems that Zhou Tao is destined to be in love this time. If it were someone else, he might still have hope. But that was Mr. Lei, he was really not on the same level as them. What's more, Mr. Lei and the boss have a very close relationship. There was a flash of struggle in Zhou Tao's eyes. Okay, finally, he chose to avoid it. He had to adjust his mood. Yuan Xing patted Zhou Tao's shoulder again and gave him a comforting look. Zhou Tao's eyes were dull and he returned to the hall. Yuan Xing calmed down and headed towards Len Ning and Lei Ting. Before they could reach them, they noticed movement. Seeing Len Ning looking back, Yuan Xing had a smile on his face. Boss, dinner is ready. Auntie asked me to call you and Mr. Lei to have dinner. Oh, okay. Len Ning immediately stood up from the rocking chair. Len Ning left, Lei Ting felt a little disappointed. Then he also got up and left with Len Ning to go back to eat. The dinner was very sumptuous. The chef Yang Meijun brought back was very skilled, and everyone was very satisfied with the plates of delicious food. However, Zhou Tao, who has always been talkative, didn't say a word this time and was immersed in eating the whole meal. Len Ning was so busy getting close to Lei and chatting with the people in the four-color group that he didn't notice Zhou Tao's abnormality. This matter is over. After the meal, Len Ning grabbed Lei and asked him to accompany her outside to digest the food. Thunder readily agreed. Digesting food is naturally an excuse. As a third-level superpower, his body functions at high speed, so there is no need to digest food at all. He was very happy that Len Ning was so clingy to him. The mission to the power plant is confirmed, Lei asked while walking on the path in the villa area. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 224. Yeah, Len Ning replied. There is still backup power available in the villa area, but the rest of the Thunder base has been completely cut off. If we don't go to the power plant to restore power, I'm afraid the villa area won't be able to survive for 2 days. The construction and development of the base cannot be separated from the support of electricity, and someone must do these things. And she and the Manman team also need such an opportunity. Thunder nodded. From forming the Manman team to going to the mercenary union to take on tasks as soon as she returned to the base, it was obvious that Xiaoning did not want to be a hothouse flower. Maybe he shouldn't limit her. Xiaoning's strength is not much weaker than hers, she should become a shining star. Are you interested in joining the military? Thinking of this, Lei Lei asked. Since the establishment of Thunder Base, Blue Snake has set up a military headquarters. Now the military seems to be the largest power center in Thunder Base. He is at the top, with the four-color group below him, followed by their respective departments and armies. If Xiaoning is willing to come to the military department to develop, he can set up another hall master position. There's no rush, Len Ning said calmly. There was no rejection. It is indeed her goal to become her elder brother's right-hand man like the four colors. But she also knew that she and the Manman team were not strong enough now. The four-color group's current position is the result of many years of hard work. As for her, apart from being Lei Ting's sister and having strong supernatural powers, she has no achievements or qualifications. Besides, the Manman team are all young people just like her. Everyone is impetuous and undecided. It is not appropriate to give them too much power at this time. Lei Lei was stunned. Okay, then, he nodded. Take this then. He took out a space jade from his space ring and handed it to Len Ning. Len Ning was stunned and took the hand. Seeing that there were plenty of supplies inside, they were all weapons. Yes, not only various knife weapons, but also a large number of guns and ammunition. I prepared this for you on the way back. It's a gift for you, Lei Lei said with a smile. The arms business was one of the most important businesses of the Lei family in the past. Later, his father failed in his business and was assassinated. The root cause is related to the arms trade. After he took over Lei's business again, he retained this business. He just changed his name and hid Lei's identity behind his back. It is precisely for this reason that no one dares to mess with the Lei family after so many years, and it is safe and sound. Now, Lei's arsenals in 2 nearby cities have moved back to Thunder Base. With a tough guy in hand, the Thunder Base is enough to hold onto one side. When you've finished using it, ask for it from me again, Lei Lei said dotingly. Len Ning nodded excitedly. Gun, she hadn't touched this thing in a long time. As one of the great achievements of human civilization before the end of the world, thermal weapons play a very important role in the early stage of the end of the world. As for why it is big, there is no need to say more. Of course, there are also disadvantages. Since silenced guns are more expensive to make, ordinary guns are generally used, and they produce a lot of noise when used. If it is not handled well, it may attract a large number of zombies or even a zombie wave. The task of the power plant is very difficult. I have already ordered the participating mercenary team members to learn shooting in the military training room tomorrow. Afterwards, each person will be allocated a certain number of guns and ammunition, Lei Lei continued. Len Ning was startled. What I gave you doesn't count, Lei Lei continued. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 225. The arsenal has just resumed production, and now there is a shortage of ordnance. However, he could still get this little stuff for Xiaoning. The corner of Len Ning's mouth suddenly raised. Thank you, brother. With the memories of his previous life, Len Ning naturally knew that the Thunder Base would produce a large amount of ordnance in the future and sell it to major bases. Then use the earned crystal cores to exchange for useful materials or improve the soldiers' abilities, making the base step by step the most powerful survivor base in City A and even southern China. Yes, gun sales will be legalized, and people with special abilities will be allowed to own guns. Lei Lei stretched out his big hand and couldn't help but touch Len Ning's head. If you need anything, you can tell me. Len Ning felt warm in her heart. Yeah, then he nodded happily. Then, the two of them continued walking forward. By the way, brother, I can go and help at the vegetable base, Len Ning suddenly said. There are too few food supplies in the base now, and if this continues, someone may starve to death. Thunder stopped. Although I want to focus more on the combat system, there is no need to lose the auxiliary system. The most important thing is that she wants to help her eldest brother stabilize the overall situation of the Thunder base as soon as possible. If the food issue is not resolved, it will be difficult to advance many plans and ideas. Okay, Lei's eyes were filled with emotion. In fact, when the four-color team learned that Xiaoning's wood power had reached the third level, they all suggested to themselves that Xiaoning go to the vegetable base to help. But he knew in his heart that Xiaoning was not here, so he didn't mention it to Xiaoning. She never thought about it, but she took the initiative to consider it for herself. Don't worry, brother, let me solve the vegetable supply problem at the Thunder base, Len Ning said confidently. In her previous life, she had been working at the vegetable base before leaving the Thunder base. She knows many situations there and has experience in dealing with them. Okay, then the vegetable base will be managed by you, Lei said directly. Management, she just said to help. Aren't you willing? Lei asked with a smile. No, just manage it. As long as those people from the previous life were allowed to return to their respective posts, she wouldn't need much work at all. Yeah. Good job, Lei nodded with satisfaction and patted Len Ning's shoulder with his big hand. Then continued to move forward. Len Ning hurried to catch up. The brother and sister continued to walk in the villa area. The next day, the Manman team got up early at Len Ning's request. Then, everyone was taken to the military training room by Len Ning. Boss, are you going to let us learn shooting? Yuan Xing was very excited. A pair of eyes looked passionately at the various guns on the table. As a man, how could he not love guns? Zhang Peng and Zhou Tao were also very excited and wanted to touch it directly. Although Xiao Bao is young, he can be considered a man after all, and he also has a curious look on his face. The power plant mission will be carried out tomorrow. Considering the difficulty of the mission, the military took the initiative to equip all mercenaries participating in the mission with guns and ammunition, and provided on-site training before departure. Len Ning looked at the crowd and said. The military is so generous, Zhang Peng said excitedly. This, AK-47, Yuan Xing couldn't bear it anymore and took action directly. The loading action is reliable and the serviceability is good. It is solid and durable and has a low failure rate. The shooting performance is excellent whether under high or low temperature conditions. It can especially be used in sandy and muddy water with reliable performance. The structure is simple and easy to disassemble. But it is not enough. The problem is that the muzzle rises seriously when firing continuously, which affects the accuracy to a great extent, and it is relatively heavy. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 226. And this, the Beretta 92F. It fires 9mm parabellum bullets, with a total length of 217 mm, an empty gun weight of 0.96 kilograms, a muzzle velocity of 333.7 m/s, and an effective range of 50 meters. The shooting accuracy is very high. Open it. The locking action is completed by the locking iron swinging up and down, which avoids the impact on the projectile when the barrel swings up and down. Similarly, it has good maintainability and low failure rate. According to tests, the gun is exposed to harsh conditions such as sand, dust, mud, and water. It has strong adaptability under combat conditions, and the service life of its barrel is as high as 10,000 rounds. The gun will not accidentally fall on the hard ground from a height of 1.2 meters. Once it is damaged in combat, the average repair time for major faults will be no more than 10,000 rounds. It lasts for more than half an hour, and minor malfunctions do not exceed 10 minutes. At the same time, its ergonomic design is reasonable. The surface of the gun is a matte polytetrachloroethylene coating, which is non-reflective and corrosion-resistant. UN scene gushed. This. Stop seeing UN scene trying to explain everything, Len Ning quickly interrupted him. The reason why I brought you here today is to master the shooting skills of various firearms, learn and slowly get used to shooting. As for other knowledge, wait until we go back. Len Ning looked at UN scene. If you are interested, you can let's talk to everyone individually. For a moment, everyone pursed their lips and snickered. UN scene was not embarrassed at all. Yes. Boss, he was not interested in telling everyone about guns. He was just excited to see these guns. Although these guns may have a great reputation, they are not produced by regular foreign manufacturers, but are produced by Lei's own arsenal. So the performance may be somewhat different from what you think. Len Ning stepped forward and took it at will. He picked up a pistol and played with it in his hand. Everyone was stunned. Lei's own product? I had long heard that Lei was involved in underworld business in his early years, including the arms trade, but he didn't expect that it has not stopped now. Ignoring the expressions on the team members' faces, Len Ning picked up his pistol and walked towards the shooting platform not far away. Then he raised his gun and shot. It turned out to be 10 rings. Everyone was shocked on the spot. Len Ning glanced at everyone and changed his gun. Still, 10 rings. Boss, have you ever practiced? UN Scene looked at Len Ning with an expression of admiration. Len Ning raised the corners of his lips. It's easy to learn this thing when you have superpowers. Then he threw the gun back on the table neatly. She has naturally practiced it, and the marksmanship was taught by her eldest brother in her previous life. At that time, I was even praised by my elder brother. Everyone immediately looked forward to it. Come on, use the bullets as you like, shoot the target first to get a feel for it. When the coach comes, let the coach give guidance, Len Ning said solemnly. Yes, upon hearing this, everyone could not bear it anymore. He took action immediately. Even Xiaobao is no exception. Everyone took their guns and walked towards the shooting platform. Xiaobao also wanted to take the gun, but as soon as he pulled the end of the gun, Len Ning put a hand on the gun and stopped him. Boss Xiaobao looked a little aggrieved, thinking that Len Ning was not letting him hold the gun. You are small, just practice pistol, Len Ning said solemnly. Then he picked a delicate and compact pistol from the table and gave it to Xiaobao. There was actually no Xiaobao on this mission, but she still brought Xiaobao. As a member of the Manman team, as long as Xiaobao learns how to use a gun, is good at using it, and can protect himself, she can take him with her on future missions. Yes, Xiaobao immediately took it in his hand happily, and then ran away. Len Ning stood there, looking at Xiaobao's leaving figure with a smile on his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 227. Miss, suddenly someone shouted. Len Ning turned around. The Wolf Fang mercenary team is here. The people from the Lanja mercenary team were shocked to see Len Ning and others in the shooting room. Captain Sunday, Len Ning greeted Sun Chi in return. I heard from the commander that there was another mercenary team that took the power plant mission and practiced shooting here. I didn't expect it to be Mrs. Team. After being shocked, Sun Chi quickly calmed down and said tentatively. The difficulty level of the power plant mission is S level. They were the only mercenary team in the entire Thunder base capable of participating in this mission. He had thought that some strong individuals might have formed a temporary team to participate in this mission, but he did not expect that this was not the case. But even though he had already seen Len Ning and the rest of the Manman team here, he still couldn't believe that the Manman team also signed up. After all, the registration conditions are there. Although the lady has a distinguished status, this is not something that status can solve. Yes. We are the only two teams from the mercenary union who have signed up, Len Ning said in a deep voice. This completely eliminated the trace of uncertainty in Sun Chi's heart. In an instant, everyone in the Lanja mercenary team was stunned on the spot. Len Ning took the lead and walked towards Sun Chi. We have to act together next. Happy cooperation. Then he extended his hand. Sun Chi was stunned. It's a pleasure to cooperate. Then he shook hands with Len Ning. Yes. I have something else to do, and I have to go to the vegetable base. It's a big place here, let's use it together. It's just right, and we can get to know each other, Len Ning said to everyone in the Lanja mercenary team with a smile. Her skill with a gun no longer requires practice. While she had time now, she would go to the vegetable base to take up her post first. Oh, okay. Sun Chi replied blankly. Len Ning nodded to the others and left. Boss, did I hear it correctly? Just now, the lady said that she wanted to lead a team to go to the power plant with us to perform a task, Liang Hui asked Sun Chi. Yes, that's what I heard too. Those little brats. Looking at Zheng Peng and others talking, laughing, and playing around, especially the little carrot boys Iobeo, Lu Lang doubted himself. It's a dream. Going on an S-rank mission with these little brats? Sun Chi looked over at him, and Lu Lang shut up. Don't underestimate people. I'm afraid the strength of the Manman team is far from what we thought, Sun Chi said in a deep voice. He is narrow-minded. How could someone who can hang out with a young lady have no real skills? The rest of the Wolf Fang mercenary team were all silent. I agreed with Sun Chi's words in my heart. After all, S-level missions are extremely risky. If Miss and the others fail to meet the registration requirements, how dare the mercenary union approve their mission? Let's go. We'll be teammates soon. Go say hello to them, Sun Chi continued. Yes, the three responded immediately. Then, the Lanja mercenary team walked towards the Manman team. After Len Ning left the training room, he went directly to the vegetable base. With the work card given by Lei, Len Ning traveled smoothly. In the vegetable base. This is a large experimental field that has been reclaimed. Some vegetables that are growing are faintly visible in the field. There are several people standing in each field. They are just like the wood-type superpowers recruited by the military. Len Ning did not go directly to the fields, but went to the office. Before they even reached the door, an old man with gray hair came up to him. Are you a lady? The old man asked when he saw Len Ning. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 228. Len Ning was stunned. This old man must have never seen himself before in this life. How could he recognize him? Seeing Len Ning's expression, Lu Wenhua immediately knew that he had guessed correctly. I've met Miss then, he immediately saluted Len Ning. Get up, Len Ning said calmly. Did you know I would come over today? Len Ning then asked. Lu Wenhua just stood up. Master Lei personally sent a letter of appointment last night. The Red Hall Master specially sent someone to notify you this morning, saying that the lady should be here. He has been waiting here for almost 2 hours. Len Ning glanced at Lu Wenhua. You have bad legs and feet, so stop standing. Let's go back to the office and talk. Then he lifted his feet and left. Lu Wenhua was stunned. How did the lady know that her legs and feet were bad? Moreover, she seems to be very familiar with this place. Len Ning went directly to the director's office, then walked to the sofa and sat down on his own. A very familiar layout, not much different from the previous life. Len Ning sighed a little when he saw it. After waiting for a while, Lu Wenhua slowly walked in. Sit down and talk. Len Ning frowned slightly and pointed to another sofa seat not far from him. Monsieur Lu Wenhua ignored the shock in his heart and walked to the sofa and sat down. Your legs look really irritating. When the sky changes, I will bring a healer to recuperate you, Len Ning said calmly. This Lu Wenhua was the director of the vegetable base in his previous life. Although he has no awakened powers, before the end of the world, Lu Wenhua was a professor at an agricultural university and had some abilities. As a person, this old man is also polite to others. He is very fair in dealing with things, and his subordinates all obey him. Thank you, Miss Ye. Upon hearing this, Lu Wenhua quickly stood up and thanked Len Ning. He already has an old problem with his leg, and even modern medicine will not be able to solve his problem before the end of the world. But things are different now. After the end of the world, some humans have awakened a healing power. These healing powers are much more powerful than the doctors before the end of the world. Not only can it heal knife wounds, zombie wounds, but it can also cure or alleviate the diseases of ordinary people. Even some severe cases can be cured. After hearing about these things, he naturally thought about finding a healer to see for himself. However, healing power users are extremely rare. Even if there are some in the Thunder base, they have all been poached by the military. Every day, they treat soldiers or people with high status. Patients like him can't even see them face to face. Now the lady has spoken, saying that she wants to ask the healer to show him his legs. How can he not be excited? Okay, don't be polite. Len Ning pressed her hand to Lu Wenhua and motioned for him to sit down. Lu Wenhua then sat back with a smile. I still have a lot of things to do outside. I can't stay in this vegetable base forever. From now on, you will still be responsible for most of the things here, Len Ning continued. Lu Wenhua was stunned. I will promote you to the position of deputy director now. From now on, when I am away, you will have the final say in the vegetable base. What the hell? Lu Wenhua was about to speak, but Len Ning reached out to stop him. I believe in your ability. From now on, you will directly make the decision on small matters. If you encounter anything that cannot be solved, come to me. Her ambition is not in this vegetable base. The eldest brother let her take the title of director of the vegetable base just to help her accumulate reputation, which she really needed. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 229. Lu Wenhua frowned deeply. The vegetable base is of great importance, but miss, she doesn't seem to be worried about it. Len Ning saw Lu Wenhua's worries, but was not prepared to explain. When I came here just now, I took a look at the conditions in the experimental field. The efficiency of spawning wood-type superpowers was very low, Len Ning said in a deep voice and got straight to the point. Yes, Lu Wenhua looked sad. Show me the report on the base's daily vegetable production during this period, Len Ning continued. Oh, by the way, there are also the quantities required by the military department, let me compare them. Okay, Lu Wenhua quickly stood up. Then he went to the filing cabinet and quickly got the materials Len Ning needed. After taking the materials, Len Ning started to look through them. The more he looked at it, the darker his face became. It didn't even reach 1/3 of the quantity required by the military department. Len Ning's voice rose twice. Lu Wenhua looked nervous and could only listen. After putting down the information, Len Ning motioned for Lu Wenhua to sit back. Lu Wenhua wiped the sweat from his forehead and then went to sit on the sofa again. How many wood-type superpowers are there in the vegetable base now? Len Ning asked. 60 in total. Including you, 61. Lu Wenhua glanced at Len Ning cautiously. According to the Hong Hall Master, the lady's wood power has reached the 3rd level peak, and she is currently the strongest wood power user in the Thunder base. If Miss can participate in vegetable growth, she should be able to greatly increase the vegetable production of their vegetable base. But he didn't dare to mention this to the lady. Len Ning said nothing and signaled Lu Wenhua to continue speaking. Among them, there are only 2 peak 2nd level wood-type superpowers, 1 is intermediate, 20 are beginners, and the remaining 31 are all 1st level, Lu Wenhua continued. Len Ning nodded, having a rough idea. As the notice goes on, 1/3 of the experimental field will be reserved exclusively for planting rice and wheat. Of the remaining 2/3, half will be planted with sweet potatoes, and 2/3 of the remaining half will be planted with legumes. Finally, 1/3 is used for growing bean sprouts, Len Ning continued. This is a method Lu Wenhua came up with after he came to the vegetable base in his previous life. By speaking out now, she's just bringing those plans forward. Lu Wenhua was stunned. 5 seconds later, there was a look of wonder in his eyes. Miss, you are brilliant. Then, he immediately stood up and saluted Len Ning. Rice and wheat are staple foods that are indispensable, and space must be left for them. But the current wood-type superpowers can only produce these two crops until they reach the flowering stage, and the rest can only rely on them to grow naturally. As a result, there is no way to gain anything in the short term. But despite this, they must make plans in advance. After all, if you don't plant now, you won't gain anything later. As for sweet potatoes, this is probably the most suitable crop for them to grow right now. Sweet potatoes are full of treasures. The leaves can be used as vegetables and the roots can satisfy hunger. The most important thing is that the sweet potato crop does not require pollination to bear fruit and can be produced indefinitely. Planting sweet potatoes can perfectly avoid the problem that superpowers cannot help plant pollination, and greatly increase the supply of vegetables in the vegetable base. There are also potatoes, which like sweet potatoes are vegetatively reproduced and are also excellent crops. As for the final planting of bean crops and growing bean sprouts, it is even more scientifically designed. Growing bean sprouts is the simplest thing. Even a first-level wood power user can quickly grow beans from a seed into a bean sprout. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 230. The only drawback is probably the bean seeds. After all, the bean seeds need to be used 1 grain at a time. The lady designed to set aside part of the land to grow bean crops. While consuming the bean seeds, she was also seizing the time to allow the crops to produce bean seeds. In this way, the problem that the bean seeds may eventually be exhausted can be solved to the greatest extent. There are 1,000 first-order transparent crystal nuclei here. Len Ning then took out a white cloth bag from his space ring. Use the salary in advance and distribute it to the wood-type superpower users. Especially for those first-level superpower users, feed them all to the second level within tomorrow, Len Ning said. Directly he threw the white cloth bag into Lu Wenhua's arms. Lu Wenhua was shocked. The heavy white cloth bag in his arms made him feel that it weighed 1,000 pounds. There is hope, their vegetable base now has hope. Crystal cores are not given for free. Anyone who applies for crystal cores must sign a long-term labor contract with the vegetable base. They must become a full-time employee of the vegetable base, and the contract period is no less than 5 years. Len Ning continued, the contract will be sent later. She had already negotiated with her eldest brother last night. When she came to serve as the director of the vegetable base, she also invested in the vegetable base. Strictly speaking, as long as she can solve the military's vegetable supply problem within a week, the vegetable base will have half of her shares in the future. This is also the reason why she is willing to spend a lot of money for those wood-type superpowers. In the early days of the apocalypse, food is in short supply in all major bases. If she makes good use of her vegetable base, it will be easy to make a fortune. She also made this arrangement for the future plans of Manman team. To become another major force in the Thunder base after the four-color group, it is impossible without money. Yes, Lu Wenhua said immediately. It was the wisest decision for the boss to send the lady to their vegetable base. Such a large sum of money was given as promised, and the lady was a lady. From now on, if they follow the lady, they don't have to worry about funding. In addition, here are some bean seeds I saved before. Put them on top first, Len Ning said, taking out a space jade from his space ring and placing it on the coffee table in front of Lu Wenhua. Lu Wenhua was stunned. The young lady actually has so many spatial jades. So arrogant. Then he immediately picked up the space jade. Seeing the large amount of bean seeds inside, Lu Wenhua was so excited that he could not speak. "Miss, you really deserve to be a miss. There are so many kinds of beans. How many bean sprouts will be produced? Arrange as soon as possible and let the soldiers at the military headquarters have enough to eat first," Len Ning continued. "Yes," Lu Wenhua's eyes were full of excitement. Len Ning nodded. "I looked at my watch and found that it was still early. Let's go, take me to the experimental field and have some sweet potatoes grown to eat," Len Ning said. Okay. Lu Wenhua stood up quickly. Glancing at Lu Wenhua's awkward legs, Len Ning curled his lips. "Forget it, don't go. Go and make the arrangements I just said. Within 5 days, our vegetable base must complete 100% of the vegetable supply for the military." It was originally a week, but Len Ning directly said 5 days, God, just to put pressure on Lu Wenhua. "Yes, miss, go slowly." Lu Wenhua was not angry and saluted Len Ning respectfully. Len Ning nodded and left the office. Then he left the office building and headed towards the experimental field in Area D. 8 update finished, good night. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 231. According to her memory, Area D was the first experimental field area where sweet potatoes were planted, and subsequent sweet potatoes were also planted in areas D and E. After leaving the office area and walking through a long path, Len Ning arrived at the experimental field subdivision of Area D. When I arrived, I happened to see 2 people chatting. "I heard that Mr. Lei is back, and the whole base is spreading this news," a tall man said. "Yes. Not only Mr. Lei, but also the madam and the young lady are back," another thin man replied. After looking around and seeing no one, the thin man cautiously approached the tall man and continued, "Have you heard about the mercenary union yesterday?" The tall man was confused. "What's going on with the mercenary union?" "I heard that the young lady went to the mercenary union as soon as she came back, and even dealt with one of its employees," the thin man said with some fear. "What's going on?" The tall man was very curious. "It's probably because that person didn't pay attention to what he said and offended the young lady," the thin man said. "If you just say the wrong thing, you'll be." The tall man had a look of fear on his face. The thin man nodded, with a serious look on his face. "It's good to know, don't talk nonsense about it." "Oh, yes," the tall man said quickly. "I met Mr. Lu in the morning and he said that the superiors have arranged for a young lady to come and take over the vegetable base. From now on, we will work under her hands and have to be tight-lipped to avoid accidentally losing our lives. Then we will be wronged." "There's nothing to say," the thin man continued. "Yes. Thank you for reminding me, brother," the tall man quickly thanked him. Len Ning was a little stunned. She didn't expect that her visit to the mercenary union yesterday would have become known to everyone, and it would be spread like this. That might be a good thing, though. The people below are afraid of her, so they work more seriously. Ahem. With a slight cough, Len Ning walked out of the shadows. The tall man and the thin man were startled. When they saw that the visitor was a little girl, the two of them exhaled and relaxed. "Are you new here?" the thin man asked Len Ning when he saw the work badge hanging around his neck and he had never seen Len Ning before. Len Ning was stunned. "Yeah," then he nodded. Today is her first day on the job, so she is considered a newcomer. Seeing Len Ning nod, the two of them relaxed even more. In addition, the other party was a girl and they rarely saw women here, so the two of them had a very good attitude towards Len Ning. "I am Wu Yang and he is Wang Mingzi. We are now looking after these 2 fields in District D," the thin man said to Len Ning first. Wang Mingzi nodded. He also looked at Len Ning with a smile on his face. "This girl looks really pretty, but she's a bit young." "Yes. I'm Len Ning said calmly. Then he strode towards the two of them. Len Ning, why does this name sound so familiar? Wang Mingzi scratched his head and muttered. It's quite familiar, Wu Yang followed. When Len Ning approached, Wu Yang's heart suddenly trembled. Little dash, then his legs trembled, and he looked at Len Ning and couldn't speak clearly. What's wrong with you? Wang Mingzi beside him didn't know what was going on, so he asked Wu Yang. Wu Yang turned around and pulled Wang Mingzi's arm. This is, little, miss, whispered. Now I finally made my meaning clear. Wang Mingzi was stunned. Then, just like Wu Yang, his body was shaking like chaff. Len Ning glanced at the two of them and felt a little funny. Weren't you still talking about me with gusto just now? Why are you so afraid of being like this now? Then he said to the two of them jokingly.